We're live, Malai.
We're live. Welcome. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the first Google Hangout of the Google Plus Hangout series with Andy Potts. We're very happy to opening these conversations in 2015 with our superstar Andy Potts. And my name is Milay Galvez. I'm the sponsorship manager for Kestrel Bikes, and with me is Jim Ruther. He's a finance manager at our company, and also a duathlete and a triathlete that has represented the United States a couple of times. He won the bronze medal in the World Championships in Ottawa for duathlon. So we have great athletes, good with numbers too. So anyways, Andy, welcome. It's wonderful to have you.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm happy to kick off the season with you guys. I've got a few races under my belts already, or my singular belt, multiple races. Yeah, things are going good. Riding's going well. So
Okay.
I'm a happy camper.
Perfect. So let's start talking about the beginning of the season. It has been a very, very successful season. Why don't you tell us about all the victories and wonderful podiums, and how do you feel so far? It's very early, and you're doing excellently.
Yeah, at the end of last year, I thought I did a couple things right, and I kind of wanted to continue on with that mode of training and kind of the daily schedule that my coach and I had, through trial and error, set up. And it's ever-changing and constantly evolving, because me as an athlete, I'm evolving. So we got to some place successful last fall, and we're trying to continue on that path. I've had a few good race results, but it's been despite my fatigue going into it. So that's really promising. Like when the gun goes off, everything in my body and between my ears says go, 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 race hard, race tough. But I'm not necessarily getting full cooperation from my body because of the training that we're doing. So on purpose. And so it's really nice to get great results while in heavy training and consciously preparing for the second half of the year.
So you're telling us that this is not the top form?
I hope not. I mean, okay, don't confuse good results with me having everything in my arsenal firing on the same day. Some races, things just don't work out and aren't. You just kind of fight through it and battle through it, and then, luckily I've had good results. So without feeling good, and I think the promising thing in that is the fact that for anyone listening, you can go fast without feeling good, and you can perform well without feeling great. It just may hurt a little bit more to get that good performance, but I think the biggest indicator of how what kind of shape you're in has less to do with the actual number next to your name in the result book and more to do with how quickly you recover after each race. So I've been able to recover quickly, get into training really soon after a tough race, just because my body says, hey, we're ready to go again.
Understood. So you're a big planner. You plan every minute of your life. We know that. We have known you for a long time, and that is why you're very successful. So we have several questions regarding planning. How you plan your races, how you pick your races for the year. That is one area that we want to talk about today. And also gear. We're going to talk about gear, how you plan, what is the analysis. And I know you have evolved as an athlete. You have been very successful in the last few years. So it's racing, gear, something to do with your success. Tell us a little bit about that.
You know, planning for the year, making plans. The best laid plans can go for naught if you don't have follow through. I think that one of the things that I pride myself on is my ability to kind of dot my I's and cross my T's and pay attention to the daily preparation. I think that is it shows that you're willing to make sacrifices on a daily basis for the overall commitment that you've made at the beginning of the year. And I think what makes me or what has made me a successful athlete is also what makes relationships challenging. And by that I mean, the constant communication you have to have with the people that are closest to you. Sometimes I just get really tired and I'm super intense. I'm really intense, and it's a big drain on friends and family because my training and racing permeates into every aspect of my life, and it's tough sometimes. It's not always a dream world.
So, really, is there something that with all your experience, have you been able to figure it out?
Oh, no.
Thank you.
Definitely not.
Precise question. So Jim had a question.
Yeah, going back to what you said earlier previously about that last question, your recovery, you said you recover well quite quickly. What do you do for recovery? Is there anything specifically that you do to recover from races, a hard race?
Yeah, I guess first thing is preparation, right? It's just how you prepare for the race and the demands of the race. So what I look for is when I capture data from a race, like heart rate data, power, output, speed, what I do is I try to plug that into my planning. And so I say to myself, okay, this is what's required on any given race day. How do we prepare best for that? And once we have that, and that information is constantly being culled and accumulated. And once we have that information, we know what it takes to perform well, and therefore what it takes to recover well. And I think recovery starts as soon as you cross the finish line. I start rehydrating immediately, and I also start looking for protein sources. This year I've actually been traveling with a 30-gram protein bar. Power bar is a 30-gram bar, and I eat that after the race, just so I can start on the right process for getting the right amount and the right kind of protein into my body, because I've got a lot of muscle tears, micro tears that happen during a race, and then it's get right back onto sleep schedule. So usually the night of a race, I sleep terrible, but the night after a race, it's okay. The second night after the race, I sleep like a baby.
Good. Well, let's talk then about racing. I wonder if you could talk about your favorite bike leg in all the races that you have done and you do. So not necessarily the favorite race, but the bike section. I'm thinking Alcatraz is coming up. Alcatraz has such a challenging bike leg, and not in the sense of the traditional aerodynamics. You need to be a very good handler. You need to be, it's more about the geometry of the bike. It's more about how you're able to put the machine to work for you. Is there any bike section of any race that is your favorite, or you can talk about?
Yeah, I would agree with you on the fact that something about the race from Escape from Alcatraz on the bike, I think it combines a ton of different aspects of bike riding that it's not just it doesn't just favor those who spend time in a wind tunnel and are aerodynamic on a bike frame, and then at the same time, it doesn't just benefit those with high, watts per kilo, that ratio in their favor. I think so. When you look at the topography of the race at Escape for the ride, it's about half flat. It's about half flat, a quarter up and a quarter down, and then you got how to handle the undulations and how you handle the bike. I think it really combines like bike handling, descending skills, which is, when you watch bike racing, sometimes races are won on a descent. So it combines descending skills, cornering skills, handling overall. Half of it is, you spend in aero. Other half is, what can you push up a hill, watts per kilo. It's got a great combination, and I've ridden well in the past, and I have to ride well this time around because Cameron's going, and yeah, no, it's going to be on this weekend, so I'm a little nervous about it.
Can you hear me now? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll be rooting for both of you.
Right.
So going back to racing and specific topography and geography, Kestrel was born in California. It's interesting because many iconic brands from the United States have been born in California, and you has been very, very successful in California. So Oceanside, Escape from Alcatraz, multiple podiums, multiple wins. Tell me, how are you capable of racing so well in two different or extreme topography, extreme different geography, I'm sorry, California, Kona? What is it? How do you adapt? How you prepare for two different races?
Yeah. So I'd say the biggest thing is my background with swimming. I'm always in the race, so I'm able to put myself in the race. And once I'm engaged in the race, and I've tried it a few different ways, but for me, I need to have a good swim, and therefore I get buy-in in the race, and it's just like, okay, I'm fully committed, and then see what happens. And as far as like different disciplines and styles of racing, whether it's draft legal, a hilly course, a half Ironman, an Ironman, I think a lot of that has to do with my preparation. My parents gave me some really good tools as well. It doesn't hurt. But I've really tried to become a student of the sport. At the beginning part of my career, I said to myself, if I'm not athletic enough to overcome some shortcomings or some mistakes or deficiencies during a race, then I don't deserve to get on the podium, because you got to be athletic and you got to, be able to overcome obstacles, right? But as I get older, I'm starting to pay more and more attention to the smaller details of the race that, maybe it's because I'm not as spry as I used to be, and I can't get away with some things that I used to be able to get away with. But for me, it's just not worth opening up a gap or kind of having the race slip away from you. I certainly make mistakes. I think my last race, I made one of the more boneheaded mistakes I've ever made. In T1, I'll tell you about it. In T1, I get to my bike, and I try to put my helmet on, and my cap and goggles are still on my head. So I put my helmet up, took my helmet off, took my cap off, put my helmet back on, unracked my bike, and my swim skin was still on. And so I had to lean my bike up against the fence, take my swim skin off, threw it back at my transition area, then I went and exited transition. I mean, I probably cost myself a good, I don't know, 30 seconds, 40 seconds maybe. It was pretty awful. But that just tells me you have to pay attention each and every step along the way. You have to focus on the task at hand and don't get ahead of yourself on race day. And I think I've been able to do that fairly consistently. And when I don't do it, it's a glaring mistake, and it refocuses me immediately. So I'm hoping to pay attention to the details this weekend. Make sure that if anything, I take advantage of transition time. I take advantage of the free speed that you can get on any given race. So I think that so as many times as you may race out there, you still make mistakes. I make mistakes, and the way to excel at any discipline, any race, whether it's the World Championships in Ironman or a local sprint race, is to be engaged in the moment and always give yourself a chance to succeed, no matter if your chips are down or if you're having a great day. I always try to fight through those moments, and I've had tough moments in races for sure, but I've constantly been able to focus on task at hand and persevere.
Just go ahead and ask the question.
Go ahead.
So going off of that term you used, free speed, I got a somewhat of a silly question. You've been known not to shave your legs. Considering the wind tunnel testing on free speed and shaving your legs, have you started shaving them yet, or are you going to, perhaps?
So I shaved them last year in Hawaii, and I thought it was worth it. It was I do consider it free speed. I don't really put a ton of stock into the testing. I'm not that hairy of a guy to begin with, but let's extrapolate it out and go really basic. Let's say that shaving your legs gives you makes you 1/10 of a second faster per minute, right? You extrapolate it out, and even if it's 1/10, it can add up to. I worked it out, and if you say shaved legs versus non-shaved legs, you'll be 1/10 faster over the course of a race per minute. It ends up being, in an Ironman, it's 50 seconds. If someone were to say, "Hey, I'll give you 50 free seconds," will you take it? I will always say yes. So I'll shave again for Hawaii. I'm going to wait to shave though. I think there is some benefits to kind of purposely using that in my arsenal to prep mentally and physically as well. So. Jim, I can't hear you. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Well, I can't hear you. So, in an effort to kind of fill some space here, so I have changed a few things for this race purposely on my bike, and we're talking about gear choices and how do you know what gear is right for you. I've chosen to ride a deep dish rear wheel and a really shallow front wheel, and then also put on an 1128 on my cassette. So I think when you have options, it's good to explore them. And if you don't have options, if you got one race wheel, one disc wheel, that's it. You should ride it. But if you have options like I do, and I'm fortunate enough to have, then I think it's wise to look into what would be the best options to use for any particular race. I look at gearing. I think that's key. I push on this race. I actually changed out my whole drivetrain, so it's going to be 5339 up front and an 1128 in the back, with a deep dish rear wheel and a shallow front wheel. When you compare that to Kona, in Kona I'm going to ride a deep dish front wheel with a 4255 chainring up front and an 1123 in the back, and then also a deep rimmed wheel in the back. And then if you also want to take it one step further and compare it to Coeur d'Alene, in Coeur d'Alene I'll do the same gearing as in Hawaii, 55, 42, and 1123, but as far as wheel choices, I'll go deep rim up front and a disc wheel in the back. The only reason I don't ride a disc in Hawaii is because you're not allowed. Otherwise, I'd ride one.
Okay. So now
I got you. I can hear you.
All right. All right, so we're going to try it again. The question was from Spencer, and it was about breathing technique on the bike. Is there anything certain you do with like your breathing technique while riding?
Right. So so when you watch a really good time trialist or a triathlete and they're in the right position, they let the anatomy kind of settle in, and if your body is being supported by your skeleton, your tummy should look kind of big, whether or not you have a paunch or not. What you want to do is allow for freedom for your diaphragm to be fully engaged, so you're able to take deep breaths in and full exhales out. When things get tough for me and breathing is demanding, I tell myself that, this sounds weird, but I tell myself that it's only heavy breathing. I'm like, don't worry, it's only heavy breathing. It only hurts for a little bit, and then it allows me a chance to get into that kind of pain area. And I also like to say that I kind of ride towards the light, and it's usually the white light in front of me that I ride towards, just because it's comforting to know that I'm actually using all my physiology to help propel me forward. And yeah, I tell myself it's only heavy breathing, but if you find that you are breathing is tough, or you can't fully engage your lungs, or you feel like you're being restricted, that tells me you need to look at how you're positioned on the bike more than anything else. Your skeleton and your frame should support you while you're on a bike, and you shouldn't be fighting it with your musculature. If you're fighting it if you're fighting falling forward with your arms or your hips, you're constantly pushing back on a saddle, I think that tells me that you might need to look at your fit, and it's probably restricting your breathing a little bit too.
Okay.
All right, thank you. There's also another question from the same Spencer. If you're trailing someone on the bike and they seem to be struggling, do you go ahead and pass them, or do you wait for a better place in the race to do so? What about the run as well?
Yeah, so a lot of it has to do with dynamics, the when and where and the why. and the who, right? So a lot of it has to do with how I'm handling certain situations, and then the other half of it is like who is dictating the pace and the when it's happening, why they're doing it. Do they need to show all their cards now? So I think tactically you got to read situations appropriately, and then another thing that when I talk to any endurance athlete, whether you're a triathlete, a cyclist, a runner, even endurance swimmers, sometimes just through the sheer length of an event, you find yourself stuck, right? You're stuck in a gear, not physically stuck, but like metaphorically stuck, right? You're in third gear, right? And all you need is a change. You just need to shift, and the really common mentality is shift down, shift to second gear, ease up, catch your breath, like, ooh, okay, now I feel better, right? I feel better. I just needed a change of pace, and that was all because just staying on that pace is just too painful, too excruciating to deal with. So your mind and your body are asking for a change. And what I try to advocate for is, if it's really important for you to excel, not to finish, but to excel, then you need to shift gears. But the shift happens up, right? So you're stuck in third. Instead of saying, I need to change, shift down to second, shift up to fourth, and you get the same relief. So that's a technique that I try to tell myself, especially on the run in a Ironman, is you need to change gears. Things are uncomfortable. I try to actually speed up, and that speeding up gives me relief. And all my body was demanding was, whatever we're doing right now, I can't handle this. I can't handle what's going on right now. You're going to need to change something. And so I go faster, and my body's like, yep, thank you. I just couldn't handle what you were doing before. So when you get into those sticky moments where you need a shift, I would advocate shifting up and just getting the day done sooner.
So you get our faces. Wow.
Yeah, good advice.
Okay, but it's easier said than done, for sure.
Well,
right? Yeah.
Maybe Andy Potts only can give us that advice.
No, you can do it too.
So actually, we have another question, very appropriate question. What was it about Kestrel that made them your choice in tri bike?
So I've been with Kestrel for this is my 6th season. Sixth season on a Kestrel. I think there was a lot to do with my frame fitting on the frame of a Kestrel. I think it's their commitment to the sport of triathlon and cycling in general. So I think I had to look at their commitment to bringing the best thing to market, the best bike to market, and how I fit on that frame, and the geometry of it, and can I get the most out of my cycling on the bike, and then at the same time, this is kind of underrated, but how comfortable are you on a bike? I've always been super comfortable on the 4000, and it's shown in my racing. Sometimes you have to give up some speed for comfort, or you have to give up some aerodynamics for comfort, but in the end result is what I'm really looking for, is how fresh can I get off of the bike so I can run my best. Not necessarily just about can I ride the fastest, which sometimes I'm able to do and sometimes I'm not able to do.
All right, great. There is another question we have for you. Do you do any mental exercises to maintain your focus for the 8 hours or more? And how do you come back from when your mind starts to sabotage you?
Okay, so number one, do I do mental exercises every day? Absolutely. Every day is a challenge. Every day presents something new, and I have mental buy-in every day to make that day a success. Whether it's I'm buying in mentally to do nothing today, I fully engage in that. But most of the days that's not the case. So I work on my mental skills every day, whether that's visualizing a certain race course or you know, tapping into technique. So yeah, that's a daily process. And then the second part is, what was the second half of that question there, Jim?
Well, can you? Yeah. Okay, it's how do you come back? All right, go ahead.
Right here.
When you start to have doubts,
Yeah.
when you're
Yeah, how you come back
Yeah.
from that focus.
So okay, so the first thing that wanes when you start to experience fatigue is the mental focus. So as soon as you start to feel yourself mentally drift, then that's my first cue that I need to fuel myself. I need to put some calories in me, listen to the cravings that I'm having. Oftentimes it's it's a choice between either the Perform that I drink or water, or do I need some like a bar? Do I need solids? So I really try to listen to those cravings at those moments when my focus starts to wane. And that is probably one of the biggest challenges, especially during an Ironman race, is to avoid apathy. If you ever get apathetic during a race, then it's usually not a good thing, because you just, all the reasons, all the training, all the effort, all the motivation that you put into that specific day starts to go for naught. And like that is a huge challenge on any Ironman day, is can you stay focused the entire time? And sometimes I'm successful with it. I've done 11 Ironmans in my life, and I'd say I've had focus from start to finish probably 2 or 3 times.
Wow.
So about 8 of those times, I have to do something to refocus.
Wow, impressive.
Yeah, well, thanks.
Well, thank you. And we are about to finish our hangout today. And I wanted to ask you, as a closing question, what would be your advice for us mortals right here, human beings, that want to have the same drive that you do to be so successful? So what is your secret? What advice you give us in order to be successful? The simplest thing in our racing.
Okay, so what the part that drives people nuts about me is my intensity, and it's part of what makes me excel at triathlon. Is I'm really intense. So I don't know if I would advocate you going to the nth degree with your intensity and your with how you approach training and preparing for a race, or for a to put out the best menu possible if you're a chef, or to make the best lesson plan if you're a teacher, or best sales tactics if you're in sales. But I think that one of the keys to success is the ability to constantly evaluate the process, but also fulfill the process every day. So it's just prepare, and look at how you're preparing. once a successful sale goes through, or a full execution of the menu is able to take place, or kids aced their tests, or I excelled at a race. I look at what was successful, right? And for me, it's almost it gains that ball rolling down the hill type of inertia. Once I've had a good race, I want to repeat it more. I'm actually more engaged, and I learn a lot from my successes as well as my failures. I look at each success or failure with the same critical eye, and it's okay. This works. This doesn't work, and it's a constant evolution. So I think there's no secret to it, and it involves the daily process for sure.
Well, thank you. That's a great advice.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Andy, and thank you all that joined us today in the first Google Hangout of 2015. In a month or so, around the end of this month, we will have the second of the series. Please stay tuned. Check our Kestrel Bikes Facebook account. I will let you know exact time and date when you can hang out again with Andy Potts. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye, Andy.